Over 2,500 years ago, ancient prophets wrote down visions that would shake the foundations of human history. They spoke of a time when nations would gather against Israel, when ancient kingdoms would rise from the north, when fire would rain from the heavens. For centuries, scholars debated these words. Were they metaphorical, symbolic, or literal warnings of events yet to come? Today, as tensions between Israel and Iran reach a breaking point, millions are asking the same question. Are we watching ancient prophecy unfold before our eyes? This is the story of the ancient prophecy, the war that was written, the conflict that was foretold, and the world that may never be the same. To understand what's happening now, we must go back, way back, to the 6th century BC, to a Hebrew prophet named Ezekiel, exiled in Babylon, modern-day Iraq. Ezekiel received a vision that would echo through millennia. In Ezekiel chapters 38 and 39, the prophet describes a massive coalition of nations that will attack Israel in the latter days. Listen to the names he gives. Gog of the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. Persia, Cush, and Put will be with them. Gomer with all its troops, and Beth Togarmah from the far north. Now here's where it gets interesting. Biblical scholars have spent decades identifying these ancient names with modern nations. Persia, that's easy. That's Iran. Persia was literally renamed Iran in 1935, but it's the same nation, same people, same land. Magog. Most scholars believe this refers to the region of modern-day Russia, particularly the southern territories near the Caucasus Mountains. Meshech and Tubal, ancient regions in what is now Turkey. Gomer, also linked to Turkey and possibly parts of Eastern Europe. Put, ancient Libya, North Africa. Cush, Ethiopia and Sudan region. Beth Togarmah, Turkey and the Caucasus region. Look at that map. Russia, Iran, Turkey, Libya, Sudan, Ethiopia. Now look at current geopolitical alliances in 2026. Russia and Iran, strategic military partners. Turkey, increasingly hostile to Israel, close ties with Russia. Libya, unstable, influenced by Turkey and Russia. Sudan and Ethiopia, both dealing with conflicts, both have complex relationships with Middle Eastern powers. The coalition Ezekiel described 2,500 years ago is forming before our eyes. But wait, there's more. The prophet Jeremiah, writing around the same time, spoke specifically about Elam. I will break the bow of Elam, the mainstay of their might. I will bring against Elam the four winds from the four quarters of heaven. I will set my throne in Elam and destroy her king and officials, declares the Lord. Ancient Persia, modern Western Iran. And where is Iran's nuclear program concentrated today? In facilities across Western Iran, in the ancient land of Elam. Coincidence? The prophet Isaiah adds another piece. See, Damascus will no longer be a city but will become a heap of ruins. Damascus, Syria, one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world. And today, caught in civil war, allied with Iran, a key battleground in the Iran-Israel shadow war. The prophecy says Damascus will cease to be a city. It will become ruins overnight. We haven't seen that yet. But with the weapons we have today, with one nuclear strike, one massive bombing campaign, it could happen in hours. But why? Why would Iran want to destroy Israel? To understand that, we need to understand the ancient hatred that runs through this story. In the 5th century BC, during the Persian Empire, yes, Iran, a man named Haman served as prime minister. The Bible's book of Esther tells his story. Haman plotted to exterminate every Jew in the Persian Empire, every man, woman, and child. The first attempted genocide of the Jewish people. His plot failed. A Jewish woman named Esther, who had become queen of Persia, exposed him. Haman was executed on the very gallows he had built for the Jews. To this day, Jews celebrate Purim, the festival commemorating their survival in ancient Persia. In ancient Iran. Fast forward to 1979. The Islamic Revolution transforms Iran. The Shah, a secular leader who had diplomatic relations with Israel, is overthrown. In his place rises Ayatollah Khomeini, who declares Israel a cancerous tumor that must be removed from the Middle East. Since 1979, Iran's official policy has been the destruction of Israel. They fund Hezbollah in Lebanon, over 150,000 rockets aimed at Israeli cities. They fund Hamas in Gaza, thousands of rockets, tunnels, terror attacks. They fund Islamic Jihad, the Houthis in Yemen, militias in Syria and Iraq. Iran has built a ring of fire around Israel. A network of proxy forces, all aimed at one goal: Israel's annihilation. But Iran wants more than proxies. They want the ultimate weapon. For over 2 decades, Iran has pursued nuclear weapons. They claim it's for peaceful energy. But their own leaders have repeatedly threatened to wipe Israel off the map. Israel knows what a nuclear Iran means. It means an existential threat. It means a second Holocaust becomes possible. And Israel has made it clear that will never happen. Since 2010, Israel has conducted a shadow war against Iran's nuclear program. Cyber attacks, the Stuxnet virus that destroyed Iranian centrifuges, assassinations, nuclear scientists killed in Tehran, bombings, mysterious explosions at nuclear facilities, airstrikes hitting Iranian weapons in Syria, Iraq, and even inside Iran itself. And then came October 7, 2023. Hamas, armed and funded by Iran, launched the worst attack on Jews since the Holocaust. Over 1,200 murdered in a single day. Families burned alive. Children kidnapped. Israel responded with fury. The war in Gaza. But everyone knew the real enemy wasn't just Hamas. It was Iran. And now, in 2026, we stand on the brink. January 2026. Israel strikes Iranian weapons facilities in Syria. Over 50 Iranian Revolutionary Guard members killed. Iran vows revenge. February 2026. Mysterious explosion at Iran's Fordow nuclear facility. Iran blames Israel. Israel doesn't deny it. Iran vows painful retaliation. March 2026. Hezbollah fires over 300 rockets into northern Israel from Lebanon. Israel responds with the largest bombardment of Lebanon since 2006. The region holds its breath. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addresses his nation. We will do whatever is necessary to defend our people. If Iran wants war, they will get a war they cannot win. Iran's supreme leader responds. The Zionist entity will be erased from the earth. This is Allah's will. This is our sacred duty. Behind the scenes, both nations prepare. Israel has F-35 stealth fighters that can reach Tehran, bunker-buster bombs that can penetrate Iran's underground nuclear sites, a missile defense system Iron Dome, David's Sling, Arrow 3 that can intercept thousands of incoming rockets, and most importantly, nuclear weapons. Israel's worst-kept secret. Estimates say between 80 and 400 nuclear warheads. Iran has numbers. 85 million people versus Israel's 9 million. Thousands of ballistic missiles. Hundreds of thousands of proxy fighters across the region. Cyber warfare capabilities that have attacked American and Israeli infrastructure. And they're this close to nuclear weapons. Intelligence estimates say 6 months to a year before they have enough enriched uranium for a bomb. But here's what makes this different from any conflict in history. If this war happens, it won't just be Israel versus Iran. The United States has treaty obligations to defend Israel. American aircraft carrier strike groups are already in the Mediterranean and Persian Gulf. President Trump has made it clear, an attack on Israel is an attack on America. But Russia has defense agreements with Iran. China gets 40% of its oil from Iran. If America enters the war, will Russia respond? Will China? Saudi Arabia, UAE, Egypt, they've normalized relations with Israel. They see Iran as their enemy too. Turkey, a NATO member, is increasingly pro-Iran, anti-Israel. Pakistan, a nuclear power, has historic ties to Iran. One spark, one miscalculation, and the entire Middle East ignites. And maybe the whole world. Now let's go back to Ezekiel's prophecy, because the details are chilling. In future years you will invade a land that has recovered from war, whose people were gathered from many nations to the mountains of Israel, which had long been desolate. They had been brought out from the nations, and now all of them live in safety. Israel, reformed in 1948 after 2,000 years of exile. Jews gathered from over 100 nations. The mountains of Israel, the West Bank, the Golan Heights, back under Israeli control since 1967, living in relative safety despite threats. This describes modern Israel perfectly. You will come from your place in the far north, you and many nations with you, all of them riding on horses, a great horde, a mighty army. You will advance against my people Israel like a cloud that covers the land. The far north, from Israel's perspective, that's Russia, through Turkey, into Syria, into Lebanon, into Israel. The exact route Iran's proxy forces would use. Like a cloud that covers the land, massive numbers, overwhelming force. But here's where it gets wild. This is what will happen in that day. When Gog attacks the land of Israel, my hot anger will be aroused, declares the sovereign Lord. In my zeal and fiery wrath I declare that at that time there shall be a great earthquake in the land of Israel. I will execute judgment on him with plague and bloodshed. I will pour down torrents of rain, hailstones and burning sulfur on him and on his troops and on the many nations with him. Divine intervention. God himself stops the invasion. Earthquake, plague, fire from the sky. Some interpret this literally, a supernatural event. Others see it as natural disasters, perhaps triggered by nuclear weapons. Or maybe both. I will send fire on Magog and on those who live in safety in the coastlands, and they will know that I am the Lord. Fire on Magog, fire on Russia itself. Fire on those who live in safety in the coastlands. Some scholars believe this means Western nations, including America, Europe. Could this be describing nuclear war? Mutual destruction? Then those who live in the towns of Israel will go out and use the weapons for fuel and burn them for 7 years. They will not need to gather wood from the fields or cut it from the forests. 7 years burning weapons for fuel? In ancient times, you could burn wooden shields and spears. But modern weapons? Tanks? Missiles? Planes? Unless we're talking about some kind of advanced energy technology captured from the invaders. Or nuclear fuel that burns for 7 years. The prophecy doesn't tell us, but it's specific, 7 years. For 7 months the Israelites will be burying them in order to cleanse the land. 7 months to bury the dead. With modern equipment, Israel could bury millions in days or weeks, unless the bodies are radioactive, contaminated, requiring special handling. Nuclear war aftermath? Chemical weapons? Biological plague? The details align with modern warfare in terrifying ways. So where are we now? Let's look at what Ezekiel says must happen before the invasion. Israel must be reborn as a nation, happened May 14, 1948. Jews must return from all nations. Over 6 million Jews from 100-plus countries now live in Israel. Israel must control the mountains. 1967 Six-Day War. Israel captured the West Bank, Golan Heights. Israel must be living in relative peace, despite constant threats. Israel has the strongest military in the Middle East, Iron Dome defense, normalization with Arab nations. The coalition nations must be aligned. Russia, Iran, Turkey working together? All happening right now. The coalition must have hostile intent toward Israel. Iran openly calls for Israel's destruction. Russia sides with Syria and Iran. Turkey increasingly anti-Israel. Every prerequisite for the Ezekiel 38 war is now in place. For the first time in 2,500 years, everything aligns. But there's more. In Matthew 24, Jesus spoke of signs of the end times. He said, "Learn this lesson from the fig tree. As soon as its twigs get tender and its leaves come out, you know that summer is near." The fig tree is a biblical symbol for Israel. For 2,000 years the fig tree was dead. Israel didn't exist. 1948, the fig tree bloomed again. Jesus said, "Truly I tell you, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened." A biblical generation is often interpreted as 70 to 80 years. 1948 plus 80 years equals 2028. We're in that window right now. Jesus also said there would be wars and rumors of wars. Nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. Ukraine, Russia, NATO tensions, earthquakes in Turkey, Syria, Morocco, Afghanistan. Global pandemic just ended. Food crises in Africa, Middle East. The signs Jesus described, they're here. So what happens next? If the prophecy is true, if we're really in the time Ezekiel described, then this is what's coming. Iran, backed by Russia and Turkey, will launch a massive assault on Israel. It might start with Hezbollah in Lebanon, or Hamas in Gaza, or a strike on Israel's nuclear facilities. But it will escalate fast. Thousands of rockets will rain on Israeli cities. Iranian missiles will target Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, Haifa. Cyber attacks will try to disable Israel's defenses. Israel will strike back with overwhelming force. Airstrikes on Tehran, on nuclear facilities, on Iranian Revolutionary Guard bases. Maybe even nuclear weapons if Israel feels its survival is at stake. The Samson option, Israel's ultimate deterrent. And then, according to Ezekiel, God intervenes. Divine judgment on the invaders. Earthquake, fire, plague. The invading armies destroyed on the mountains of Israel. Russia humiliated. Iran crushed. The coalition scattered. And after 7 months of burial and 7 years of cleanup, the world will know that the God of Israel is real. That's what the prophecy says. Now you might be skeptical. You might say this is all coincidence. Ancient texts being retrofitted to modern events. Or you might be a believer, seeing these signs as proof we're in the end times. Either way, one thing is undeniable. The stage is set. The actors are in position. The script was written 2,500 years ago, and we're about to see if it plays out. Whether you believe these prophecies are divine revelation or ancient literature, the geopolitical reality is the same. Israel and Iran are on a collision course. The weapons are real. The hatred is real. The alliances are real. And the next few years will determine whether we're witnessing the fulfillment of ancient prophecy, or just another chapter in humanity's long, tragic history of war.